Welcome to the Uncle Jimmy and Cousin Donnie show. I believe, Donnie, this is episode number 66. Am I correct?
Yep. That's exactly right, my friend.
Sponsored by the Beacon Tap. How are you, Cousin Donnie?
How's everybody doing? This is an exciting week for us coming off Major Nationals. One of our favorite segments is back this week where we make up some stories about people changing teams called the Rumor Mill. People love it. But what an exciting weekend for 16 softball. Was awesome to be out there and be a part of it. And just the hype was like, nothing we've seen all year for the past couple of years, in my opinion. So pretty darn excited to talk about it tonight with you guys for sure.
Yeah, you know what really just kind of stood out this weekend? The amount of excitement, I think, in the park was tremendous. I think obviously Rismondo being present in the park had a huge outpouring of supporters, huge outpouring of.
Can you hear that dog?
Yes, I can hear your dog. So.
Okay, let me do something about that. Keep going, Jim.
So as Donnie goes to his dog right now, I just want to go ahead and share and basically take this moment to say thank you to all the players. The amount of support that they showed, not only at the field, but also, by coming to Papa Magoo's over the course of the weekend was absolutely tremendous. I couldn't thank everyone enough. I think, almost every player known to man had showed up over the course of 3 days, which was awesome. My staff over there did a tremendous job. For the most part, in regards to servicing everybody and getting everyone out there, it was just awesome. And I know that all you guys too, the Flash team coming on Sunday night and all the players coming on Friday and Saturday, it was just an awesome thing to see. And I definitely appreciate all that. And yes, Joel, Donnie is trying to shut up his damn dog. So unfortunately, he had to step away for a minute. But while he steps away, I want to welcome Wags to the show. I want to welcome our buddy Ram, Donald, Joel, Pops, Hector, Lane Neiman, Tom Higgins, Jack Doss, Rod Bailey, welcome. Tony Shriven, welcome. Sarah Wellington, which is my buddy Chuck, welcome. John Leonard, welcome. Renizzi, our boy Jason. So, Donnie, while you stepped away, I was just kind of letting everyone know and thanking them for the support that they showed Papa Magoo's over the weekend. I can't thank everyone enough. It was an awesome thing to see. And, like I said, it was just I wanted to say thank you to all the players because I know almost all the teams showed up at some point over the weekend, which was awesome to see.
Yeah, we were there as a team. The entire signature team went over there. Enjoyed our food, enjoyed the atmosphere. I know, we were there at the same time as 3 or 4 other teams, which was really cool. So it was great to see the support for yourself, Jim. As a big fan of the game, and then the support for your business was outstanding from the weekend. So wanted to thank you for being, hospitable to our guys, and we'll continue to support your place for sure.
Yeah. So, there's some things I want to say tonight too. I'm not going to say it before the interview, but I want to talk about some situations and some things I heard, roaming around the field before we even get to Rumor Mill tonight. So, I had a lot of calls about it. A lot of people came up to me at the field about certain things. So I want to touch a little bit on that too before we bring on Rumor Mill later tonight. So,
Yeah.
I think it's something that people are going to want to hear and discuss. And as we, as players, as we call it a family, we definitely want to be able to support each other. And, I want to get that out there to those guys too. So Steve Batnage, our boy, is putting up a huge comment. So
Do you think
he
guys
says, do
will
you think,
tune in tonight, or will too many 16-inch guys be jerking off to Resmondo YouTube videos? Guilty. Don't get me wrong. I love the idea of having them out there and watching the competition, but some of these 16-inch guys are acting like they played against the Yankees, the 27 Yankees at the Field of Dreams. It's kind of embarrassing. I watched I watched more Resmondo videos this weekend. I'm
yeah,
pumped about it. Like 100% we're going to watch the videos. Why not? These guys,
well,
they're the ultimate
I
professionals. That's
well,
the admirable thing. Like they're fantastic softball players, fantastic human beings, but the ultimate professionals, in my opinion. That's admirable about them.
well, and to your point, that's kind of what stood out this weekend to me. Yeah, I know they get, they get somewhat of a paycheck to play softball and they're traveling and they're doing their thing. But what stood out to me the most was the enthusiasm to want to play the game. You know,
Yeah,
I was fortunate enough; I got to see those guys every day. They came to hit at the Dome,
cool.
and I was able to speak with several of them on a daily basis. And
And
they
they,
were
they
just,
came like 2 hours early from their games, didn't they?
yes, they did, and that's something I
See,
want to talk to Cory about. Maybe I
yeah,
want to ask him a question about that tonight when we bring him on. I just think it's the commitment is just completely different from what we have, and I understand that none of our players are technically getting paid, or I mean, obviously a lot of the players in sports or in 16-inch have received jobs from the game itself at some point, or use connections to receive their job, but it's a different level of commitment, I feel. And you know what? And Resmondo deserved the win this weekend. They were the best team out there. They hit the ball. They played well. They did what they had to do. And I think what us as 16-inch players have to realize is that, as time goes on, I'm hoping that Resmondo is going to bring more of the 12-inch game so we can literally put these two together. I
yep.
think that was, to me, the biggest outpour of the difference of what they do compared to what we do. And yes, I know we normally don't play with gloves, but and I know Rosmondo told me all weekend there's no way in hell they're going to play with bare hands.
Well, yeah, yeah. They're not
But
coming to No Glove Nationals. For all the people
yeah,
that are
yeah,
going to ask me, they're not going to be at No Glove Nationals. They made that very clear over
yeah,
the
they're
weekend.
not coming. But I think, and this is why we like the glove for the most part, is that it does opening it up to teams that normally don't play 16-inch. And these guys are professional softball players at what they do, and they adapted tremendously. They adapted a lot better than I thought they would. So, with that said, why don't we get over to Cory? Let's bring him on. I know I got a ton of questions for him. I know you got a ton of questions for him.
Yep.
But let's bring on the MVP of this weekend and get him to the show now. So, let me get to Mr. Briggs himself. There he is. Cory, what's going on, my man? Dude, he's looking pretty swole, Donnie. I don't know if he's coming after you or what. Huh?
Yeah, man.
I
I
try
noticed
to,
that was kind of a trend for those Resmondo guys.
Yeah.
You gotta be in good shape to play.
try to get a workout in every night.
Should I just stand here, Donnie, with my
Yeah, just
arm?
flex your arm.
But so, Cory, you know what? I want to say thank you for joining tonight, taking time out of your day. I know you guys are busy with travel, and I know you got a big weekend ahead. I believe you guys got conference finals.
That Nah, that's next weekend. There's some guys going to play the ASA event,
Okay.
but that kind of broke down a couple weeks ago with some of the field availability and stuff.
Sure.
So I won't be. I'm not going to be going to that. But the next week we all come back together for the conference championships in Alabama.
So yeah, so that's, I know that's what some of the guys were saying. So that's awesome that, I don't know how you guys do the schedules. I guess it's, constant travel and do what you do, but we definitely appreciate you guys coming to Joliet this past weekend. I thought it was awesome. Congrats on obviously winning the MVP.
Thank you.
We'll get into that too. But before we get started, why don't you tell everyone kind of how you got into softball? Tell us a little background about yourself, where you're from, and just kind of give the softball community what they're all waiting to hear.
I'm from Arkansas. I played in a I played small college baseball in the central portion of the state. And as far as softball goes, after baseball, I started playing golf. And then there was league going on and stuff. So I went out there and gave league a shot. And then I met up with a guy from Fayetteville, which is where the University of Arkansas is at, but about 20 minutes from me. And he played for an A team. His name's Reb Smith. He played for an A team. And in 2016, he asked me to go give that a go. And I had a really good season and got picked up by Smash It the next year and played with Smash It for 2 seasons. We won the major in 2017. Then we got beaten 18 by Rismondo. And then after 2018, I've been with Brett and Mama Cheryl since then.
Go ahead, Donnie.
I love Mama Cheryl. She was on the bench for every game, I believe, out there that weekend. She kind of calls the shots, huh?
Yeah, she's a big deal, man.
Yeah.
She puts up with a lot. Like I'm sure dealing with the 15 or 16 travel plans and orchestrating all that stuff for us is difficult. And then when you got requests with bringing your family or needing your own hotel room because you're bringing your family, she deals with a lot, but she always comes to the field with a smile on her face, and she's the best.
Yeah, she's great. She had a pretty positive attitude during those last couple games, and just you can tell she kind of loves the game and loves being around you guys for sure. So it's nice to have that in the dugout.
She don't miss no games.
No.
And she always matches our uniform.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow.
That's all.
Well, that's cool. That's
random. I actually only picked up on that like the end of last year. I was like, Mama, your shirt matches our jersey. She's like, yeah, every time. Now I see it every time.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. The thing, I know we were just talking a little bit before you came on about the difference of commitment from what you guys do compared to kind of some of what we do. And I know Flash and some of the teams that you played over the weekend, throughout the year, they have some commitment issues. And we understand, a lot of our guys, unfortunately, we don't get paid or to travel or a lot of things that you guys do, but take that away. I still think the commitment level from what I saw of you guys in the dome 2 hours before, doing what you do, treating it as a business. Is that something that you guys pretty much do throughout the whole year? Is that how that works? And then tell us a little bit about the bat contracts. And I know I got a lot of questions about that, like what some of the guys have bats and some of the guys don't. And just fill us in a little bit about that, because I know that was a question swirling around the field about what you guys do with the bats with Mike and Easton and all that stuff.
Okay, so starting with like how our, like, once we get there, we're there to play softball.
Right.
We're not there to go out to eat or go to the bar or go
Right.
spend our time elsewhere. So the expectation is that once we're there to play, and BP's a must. Friday night BPs are usually the heavier of the 3 opportunities that we have to take BP. You want to get some of that airplane rust off of you and get going a little bit. So those BP sessions will last a little bit longer, but Saturdays are a little easier going. And then usually Sunday morning, some of the guys, they're very limited in their BP because we've played, 4 to 5 games already, and they won't take as many swings. But as far as like preparation and getting there early, if you're a guy that's not taking a lot of swings, you're finding a way to get loose, because you know how it is. As you get older, you get stiffer on those longer weekends. So if they're not taking swings on Sunday morning, they're stretching and getting ready to go.
Well, the thing that stood out to me, I was meeting you guys at the dome. It was 2.5 hours sometimes before your guys' game. So, on 2 of the days, unfortunately, I couldn't stay there with you guys. I just left you guys there. I had to go play myself. But, I just thought, like, man, how many times are they going to take BP, and how long are they going to take it for, right? But, that kind of leads to my next question, because, the 16-inch ball, it kind of humbled some of your guys from what I was hearing over the weekend, right? So tell us a little bit about how you felt hitting a 16-inch compared to what it is with a 12-inch.
That's the word I would probably use to describe the whole weekend overall. It was extremely humbling,
Yeah,
you know, and talking to some of the people in the crowd in between games, I guess they don't follow 12-inch very much, and they were just kind of asking about like power and how our lineups built and like expectations as a hitter in a 12-inch game. And I was trying to explain to them like 1 through 11, everybody can hit it.
yeah,
It's
Yeah.
not this guy's the only guy can hit home runs, so I think that was kind of eye-opening for some people, maybe, that
right.
how our lineup is built. It's not built necessarily to play the game at, you know like we were playing this weekend, as far as being able
Yep.
to knock it down and get a bunch of base hits. But I mean, we do a pretty good job of that when we do play on the 300-foot fields. This year we had a little trouble with a few teams doing it, but overall, like, our lineup's just built for that power portion. And and then to show up this weekend and that be completely taken away,
Yeah,
it it was a little bit eye-opening.
because I was trying to live stream some games from the third base side off the field, which is very difficult to do because we weren't able to go on the field this weekend, and that's something that I'll discuss later on in the show that I know a lot of people want me to talk about. But
You'll get there.
I thought was eye opening to me was that the top of your order kind of struggled a little bit with it, and your bottom of your order was actually on fire. Every time I watched you guys, it was like hit, hit, hit. And I really felt, and we always say this on the show, that you need your bottom at our game to hit in order to win these tournaments. And I feel that's
Right.
what your bottom did all weekend. I mean, from 5 to 6 to 11, you guys hit the ball, and it was awesome because I know that some of those guys at the top of the order, they had their hits, don't get me wrong, but it was eye opening to see. Is that something that you guys were kind of, because, maybe talking shit about amongst each other a little bit, giving yourself some, just, busting balls on the dugout about the top of the order? Because some of those guys are probably used to hitting 900, 950, and they weren't doing that.
Yeah, that was, we don't tell each other we suck necessarily, but there's a few people in our dugout that remind us that we're not very good.
Brett?
I'm not gonna
Is that Brett?
I'm
Is
not
that
gonna
Mr. Brett Helmer?
I'm not gonna point people out, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's a few people that'll let us know, like, you're not as good as you think you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, this weekend, the word of the weekend was definitely humbling. I do think, though, in the moments where we needed big hits, there
Yeah.
was some clutch swings out of the top of the order. We did talk about it on the side a little bit, about how it was kind of shocking to see some of our dudes struggle, but it was everybody. Everybody had their string of at bats where they just could not put it together.
Yeah.
Where you'd go up there and you might have made 4 outs in a row, which is completely
Weird. Yeah.
out. It's right. You talked about the 900 deal. We've got 14 guys on our roster, and all of those guys are capable of hitting over 750, 800 every weekend.
Yeah.
And then to go into this weekend, and we were told by a few guys that if you hit over 500, you're killing it. And we're just like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's shocking.
The batting champ hit like 650 on the weekend, I believe. I think it was Iggy from Flash who hit like 648. So that's the batting champion from the weekend. So to piggyback on that, who's ready, to retire from 12-inch and play 16 now full time from your guys' team?
I don't know about retiring.
Who's done?
We did enjoy. I know that we did enjoy the change of pace. Like,
For sure.
It was really cool. There's some things from your game that I wish that we would implement into ours a little bit. And then there's some things from your game I wish y'all would take out, because I think it's a little ridiculous.
We'll get there.
And one of those
Jimmy will
things
get
is the OO count anyway. But it was
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying that for the weekend, it was just, I don't know that retiring is from 12-inch, but I wouldn't mind playing that more. It was interesting.
Yeah.
For sure. After the first two games were relatively not close games. Actually, the first three games were not very close games. You guys won, I believe, by 10, 10 runs every time. After those first three games, were you guys like, what are we doing here? Are we just coming to roll everybody, or are we going to find somebody that's going to give us some competition? Then, you played a 2-0 game, which is probably pretty rare for you guys to play a game that ends 2-0. What were the thoughts after the first three games? Like when you guys were rolling through that first bracket of competition.
Well, unfortunately, I think some have said some false confidence. Right? Like you go through some of those games and you're not. It's not that it wasn't challenging. Like the hitting was insanely difficult, but you're winning games by that margin, and you're hearing people like I said, the conversations were great all weekend. People were really cool, and they were wanting to know a lot of stuff, and we were wanting to know stuff that we didn't have any information about. But as far as like the feeling in the dugout, we knew it would get tough. We knew we'd have those games where we just wouldn't be able to put it together. And then when we got put on that top field with that wind, that ball balloons if you don't hit it perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And we found out about that real quick, 2-0.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Funny enough, you played the same team on the same diamond like an hour later and won 9-0. So, and that's one of our top teams. So what an incredible adjustment from you guys. Jimmy, go ahead.
Yeah, no, what I was going to say is that the hitting, it looked like you kind of found yourself in the first three games a little bit. It started off a little rough in the first game against Impact and then went from there. It's just, the thing that shocked me is that you guys adapted so fast. And I think the first three games really did help you guys. Not that you weren't challenged. Iron kind of hung around with you guys in that second game. And they're a scrappy team. And I told you guys that at the Dome, they're going to be a scrappy team. But you guys jumped out early, and then they kind of came back into the game. And you put a couple on them to put them away late. But, it was really cool to see. And I think that's the difference. And I know I was talking to Travis and KP a little bit, and they were kind of like, yeah, no, this game's a lot of fun. This game's a lot different. And, they had some comments about what they thought. But that's my next question for you is, what would be, you mentioned it earlier, like the 0-0 count, but what was some of the things that you think that you would take away from our game to improve it?
I did. The 0-0 count was a big one for me because your pace I feel like the pace of 16 inches it's really good. The games are always close. Mm-hmm. I like that part of it. You're not getting that blowout all the time. You're always playing a tight game. I love that. The 0-0 count it just seems like a lot, especially with the distance of the mound, right? You're only 30 couple feet away, and then you got that giant ball, which is going to catch a lot of the strike zone anyway.
Right.
And then this is a small thing, but we thought it was funny that if you fouled a ball off, somebody from the outside the game had to throw it back in, or we weren't going to play no more.
We only get one ball in this game, Cory. We don't get 200 balls a game like you guys get at the 12-inch level. We get one ball to play with the whole time.
Yeah.
So if you cut down that one strike where they're not maybe fouling off two balls, you might speed the game up even more. But the pace of the game is good just because there's not 10-run innings, 20-run innings, the stuff that we run into where the games can they can get ridiculous, man.
Yeah. It's funny because we were talking with Dale, the reporter from the 12-inch world on, I think, Monday, Donnie and I.
Yeah.
And he brought up, that was the first thing he brought up when he was condensing the games, is that he only has to condense like 55 minutes, in an hour. So he's like, this is awesome. It's only taking me 15, 20 minutes max to condense these games, So, and then he's like, the pace of play when you play the 12-inch, it could take him an hour sometimes to condense those games because there's just a lot at it. So that's just, to me, I think it's funny to see that from you guys because you're just not used to it, And the other thing that caught my guard, though, too, is I wanted to ask you is, how was it to lead off? Because I know in 12-inch you can't lead off.
Super cool.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. The only, and this is something that even the the guys that play regularly were talking about was that the pickoff is I like that you can pick off and I
Yeah.
like that you can't steal. I
Right.
just don't like that you can chuck the ball wherever the hell you want and have there's no repercussions for it. I think
Correct.
that's kind of ridiculous. Like if you're going to risk it, you should be able to advance one. They were talking about it, that they've mentioned it, that you get one base. Like you don't just get to take off and go forever.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna take a high risk move and like especially the one that the dude did, I forget which game that was. I think it was the second game Saturday maybe.
Iron. Yeah.
Bazak,
I heard about
Bazak, yeah, Bazak got picked off at second on a no look pick.
it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool.
TJ.
Cool. Yeah, it was sweet. It was a good move because I think it was second and third with 2 outs, and we had, Josh was up top of the order, so you're looking to score those 2 runs, and you get bailed out with a pickoff. I think that's great. But if he chucks that thing into center field, that guy from
Yeah.
third should be able to score.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
No,
Good
yeah.
thought.
To your
That's an
point.
interesting rule.
Yeah, no, that's you bring up a good point. Like you kind of and we're both pitchers, Donnie and I, and you kind of get to do that with really no
No
risk, right? I
punishment.
mean,
There's no
no
punishment.
punch whatsoever. So that is kind of interesting. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And in some leagues we do play in though, they do have they
Yeah.
can steal some leagues.
Yeah.
It's just that when we play major level, there's never no stealing.
I was shocked there wasn't more pickoff attempts. I thought that because you could do that.
Right.
I don't know about the other guys. I didn't talk to them really about this, but I expected to see more because there's no risk. I thought
Yeah.
that they'd whip some balls around a little bit and try to steal outs, but
Yeah.
I think beyond the Bazak pickoff, I think there might have been 1 or 2 others, and that was it.
Yeah. It's not very often that somebody gets picked off in our game. I think simply because it's it's a little easier to read than a baseball pickoff. But yeah, that like you said is an inning killer for you. And I know is that so somebody also commented dumbest rule in 16. Is that kind of a general rule where you're from in terms of pickoffs, but you guys don't even really lead off, I guess, but I don't know if that's a general rule outside of 16-inch can go on an over 3. I guess not.
No, there's no pickoff.
Yeah, you got. I guess you wouldn't see that.
That was a completely new. Yeah, that's just a completely new deal. We don't have any experience with that beyond playing baseball as we were growing up.
Yeah, I mean, in the 16-inch game, if you do pick off, it counts as a fake. So in 16-inch, you could fake twice. So if you fake once and try to pick the guy off, he's safe. The next pitch, the guy has to go home. He can't fake unless it's a ball. So, I mean, I guess there is some kind of, I don't know, a punishment for it, but not really, So, to your point, yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's something that we can definitely talk about. So, but as a whole, how did you mentioned you guys like playing 16-inch? Do you think that you can get more teams to come and play? Because I know you guys are going to end up talking about it, right? People are going to ask you now in the 12-inch world when they're seeing you guys play 16-inch. I'm sure some of these other major teams and other A teams that don't play on that weekend. What are the chances you think we can grab more of those teams that come together for next year?
I think the teams with big budgets.
Yep.
I think that's an opportunity for them to do something like that. I think whenever you're talking about the smaller budget like B and A teams, if it's not a tournament that they can get a lot of travel through, just guys that can drive to it, I think you might have a little trouble getting some of the smaller budgeted teams there. But
Right.
I would assume that because of what happened this weekend and I don't think we have too much of a bad thing to say about it. I
Yeah.
think you're definitely looking at adding teams to the 16-inch game in the future.
Yep. So I know Dale was telling us about I believe, what was it? Roofex, is it?
Roofex, yeah. Yep. The Amish guys, a lot of them they're from some of the Midwest. So I know they've got some guys from Indiana, but Roofex is a really good team right now defensively. And I know, Cory, they give you guys a tough time this year. So it would be cool to see you guys play each other in 16-inch. But that would be really cool to see.
That's a game that they can be extremely successful at because they're built. They're not as I guess you could say as big as our roster, but they're
Mhm.
extremely athletic top to bottom, and I think that bodes well for your game. Um, that was one thing that was tough against that last team we played. What was their team name? Flat.
Flashback.
Flat.
They were extremely difficult in the top of their order because of all the left-handed athleticism.
Yeah.
Yep.
They weren't bringing it wasn't slow lefties. So they put a lot of pressure on your defense in the infield if they put the ball on the ground. And then anything in the air, it was really hard to play defense in the outfield because of the risk of getting beat in the gap.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You wanted to
Yep.
play shallow to take away from some of those soft cut swings that a lot of folks were talking about because
Yeah.
you wanted to try to steal hits. But then if those guys went ahead and went after it and beat you in a gap, it was a homer. So that athleticism with those lefties on that team
Yep.
was part of the reason the games were so tough. And
Yep.
is built a lot like that. They're super athletic. They run the bases extremely well. They take extra bags against us all the time. And in your game, with that ball being difficult to throw, most of those guys are doubles on balls that are not
Right.
traditionally doubles.
So kind of like you, Donnie. You know, when you
Yeah,
get a
I
ball,
would
you
I would steal
automatic
bags
double.
all. Yeah, I would steal bags all day long. Sounds exactly
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Put put a donut on second, he'd get there. Trust me. Right?
Okay. All right. Okay. No worries. No worries. That's enough of that. Moving on. I had a question. So talk to me about the energy in the place after the homer from Matusik in that late flash game. I know homers for you guys are like, okay, awesome, he hit another homer, but this was a very special moment for us watching, and then I'm sure it was pretty cool for the people on the field. Talk to us about that.
So I'm not talking trash about Jason at all because the guys,
You
when you're
can,
talking about hitters, yeah, but when you're talking about hitters, the guy's top 10.
yeah,
He's really, really good.
yeah,
But he was making a joke about it himself all day Sunday. He was in a war. And the first two swings of that game, he was going hard. Like he was clearly trying to whack it. And there wasn't a whole lot of success. I think he had like a fly out to left, and then it got worse. He flew out to short. And on that third at bat, I know that a few of us had talked like, man, I wish he would try to base hit it because like the home run swing ain't there. And then he walked in and whacked the first pitch out of there, and we were like, yeah, never mind. That works. So I was glad he didn't shy away from it in the end. But we were joking around about it because he was on, I said, all day Sunday he was talking about the war he was in, and it comes down to him in that moment, and Jesus, man. And
yeah, that was
we were all staying relatively even keel in our dugout the whole day because it was
uh-huh.
hard to get excited because we're scoring 2 runs.
Yeah.
Sure.
You couldn't get too high, but in that moment, I know the dugout was nuts, and I think as far as the crowd goes, they were shocked
Oh yeah.
because when the first championship and then the if game, it was definitely one-sided. It felt like it was us against them, and then everybody in the bleachers. So
Oh yeah.
super cool experience to
Cool.
be a part of that. It was really cool.
So
There's a
we've
there's a
questions
good
coming in
question. Yeah. What
on the
ounce what
screen.
ounce bat was he using? And where can I buy one? What ounce bat was he using to hit the dinger?
I know that he was using a heavier one. I know it was 30 ounces or more. He
Mhm.
didn't. Some of our guys started out with that, trying to use the heavier bat, but I think some of us made a switch back to the bats that we normally use
Yeah.
just because we just didn't feel like there was a significant advantage to using the heavy one. But I know he was using, it was at least 30 ounces.
Because a lot of your bats are loaded too, right? So that's adding an additional 6 or 7 ounces. So even though it's a 28-ounce bat, it feels like a 35, correct?
Like our traditional bats?
Yeah.
No, I mean 27 ounces, and it's like a half ounce end load is what
Okay.
Oh, wow.
most of us use a half ounce end load. Um, I can't pinpoint exactly who swings the full ounce end loads. I feel like Travis does. I think he swings the bat with a mule load. I know his bat was that way. His signature bat was that way. I think it was last year. His was a mule load, which is like maybe an ounce and a half.
Yeah.
But as far as bats go, they're not really comparable to what's being used out there.
Right. So Mr. Wonderful, as I call him, Brett Helmer, he was awesome all weekend, by the way. I loved his attitude, the way he approaches everything. And he just cracked me up all weekend. And he knew he was making me laugh because every time he'd make a comment to me, I was literally crying. But he says 30 ounces with the 7.5 ounce in the end. So they used the old bat of his. He had to throw that out there. So what Brett's trying to say is he would probably hit it out too.
No, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. Probably could still hit it out at his age, from what I hear, huh?
No, he still swings it pretty good. The last time I saw him hit was in Seattle. I think that was like 2 years ago. He participated in a derby, and he still swing it.
I bet.
Yeah.
That's kind of what some of the guys were telling me, that he could definitely still swing it. I guess you don't get a wall named after you, if you can't.
Yeah,
So, but
yeah, he
you know what?
hit plenty over there.
Yeah, there was a question. I think Helmer answered it. Hooch, I think it came from Ram. He said, "How much did Hooch help you guys with some positioning, I believe, or scouting report to help them?" So, and then Helmer answered it, said Hooch helped out a bunch with positioning on certain players. So, yeah, I mean, hey, man, you guys got to take advantage of what's out there for you. Absolutely. I mean, not knowing anybody and doing all that. I mean, why wouldn't you ask someone to jump on to tell you about where the players and certain people hit? I mean, it's only to your advantage. So I guess in the long run, it makes a ton of sense.
That was one. That's another thing. Traditionally, like Helmer doesn't say much about our defensive positioning throughout a game. Like he's not yelling out to center field telling me where to go.
Yeah.
But that was a constant this weekend because, like I said, it was so difficult to gauge whether I was too shallow or too far back. And then
Right.
traditionally throughout the weekend, I was drifting back just because of where we normally play. Our depth's usually way deeper. So
Right.
I was constantly being told, like, you need to come in. You're way too deep.
Interesting.
You
Go ahead, Doc.
you mentioned the energy, you guys, stay an even keel. I think probably that's how you guys are most of the time, just with your level of expectation when you guys go out there and play. I think what we all wanted was a little bit of fire out of you guys, and hopefully, right, we got that in that homer, and that's what everybody kind of wanted to see was, all right, these guys are, not that you're not passionate, but just the way you show it, right? So these guys are passionate about this game. They want to win. They want to be out here. That homer sparked this huge eruption. I was there. It was so cool to see. I guess in the 12-inch game, how often are you guys getting to that level of excitement when, I guess, someone hits a homer, but when someone makes a big play? How can we kind of compare those two events to each other?
I think part of that's just playing the game so much. Like you talked about expectation. Like,
Yeah.
the highs aren't, I guess you could say, that high, just
Sure.
because you read that comment earlier when we first got on, like people acting like they played the Yankees or whatever. Guy was kind of being a smartass or whatever, but
That's advantage.
we expect to win. So as far as
Correct.
being like overly excited about getting the job done, that doesn't, it happens. We want to win. It's win at all costs, but it's not like we have to be cheerleaders about it.
Yeah. I mean, but you know what?
Sure.
It's your business. That's what you guys do. I mean, I don't blame you one bit. And that kind of, Donnie brings up 12-inch, and I wanted to ask you about 12-inch because obviously that's what you guys play. So you mentioned earlier in the show that you would want to bring some things to 12-inch from the 16-inch game. Can you share those with us?
Like the things that I thought about them today, as far as you were talking about changing like our game
Yep.
compared to yours. Now the OO count, obviously I talked about that, but the one thing I like that your game has a little bit more strategy to it, as far
Yeah.
as like when guys are in certain situations, first and second, you're not a home run hitter. You're doing some baseball stuff, trying to hit the ball backside and just move guys over.
Right.
Um, that can kind of get away from our game because of the amount of home runs you can hit.
Sure.
The strategy portion doesn't really come into play until the homers are gone. And then you start seeing guys do stuff like that. And I don't know if it's a popular opinion or not, but when we're playing on 300-foot fields, I've talked to guys and I wish they would cut the
Keep going.
home run count down. Like 300-foot fields were allowed to hit 16 homers against major teams,
Right.
14 against AA teams. I wish they would cut those homers down.
Yeah.
It'd almost be like your game where there's no homers and
Right.
cut it down to like 10. And then the pace of the game would change. We wouldn't be in these 2.5 and 3 hour games because of those home run limits being so high and the run scoring and the endless innings. I think that would be a good thing for our game, is to cut the homers down, which would make it similar to yours.
Well, and I think, I mean, you see this a lot in professional sports. I mean, obviously Major League Baseball, the pace of the game, right? The speed of the game. I think that's what's cool about what we do, is that our pace of our game, you're done in usually under an hour and 15 minutes, right? So the pace of our game is quick. You could play a lot of games in a 3 or 4 hour span, where you guys could be anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours, from what I'm hearing, for one individual game. And so I know that was something that was brought to my attention from some of your players, is like, man, we played 5 or 6 games already, and we've only played for 6 or 7 hours, but I'm beat. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that, I think is awesome. And I think it's something that hopefully moving forward, we can get more and more people to see how great 16-inch is. And then at the same time, Donnie and I were talking about, we want to go down in January. If we don't make it this year, we make it next year, to the thing that Helmer was telling us about, which was the Cup Classic or something like that, or Classic.
Yeah, the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, and so that's just strictly states. So
Yeah.
most of our players are from the state of Illinois, so it'd be easy for us, hopefully, to recruit a team and go down there, and we'd have to fundraise and everything else for it. But, the only problem is I don't know what level we would play in. I mean, Helmer was saying possibly the C level, because obviously, speed of the game is going to be tremendously different for us with the ball. So that's going to take some time to get adapted to. So what
Yeah,
are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think probably the C level would probably be great. I think the most difficult thing for most of the guys, I think the hitting is going to be obviously different, but the defensive part is, I don't know how many of those guys like play both sides, 12, 16, 12. I don't know how many of those guys do that,
Right.
but we talked about that a lot this weekend. Was our infielders aren't nervous at all playing 16-inch.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying any guys are just scared or anything, but there's
Right.
some balls coming off the bat in the 12-inch game, well over 100 miles an hour going through the infield. That is completely different. And then how the ball flies in the outfield, the knuckleballs that are hit to left, they're extremely difficult to catch. Those things come with reps, but the speed of the ball off the bat would be really, really difficult to adjust to if you don't get those reps in.
Right. Now that's what they had said. I think it was Travis had said or something to me, that we definitely have to go take fielding practice for a couple weeks and actually have some major 16-inch guys hit some balls, because that ball's moving at 100 miles an hour. And hey, I mean, if you're not used to that, someone can seriously get hurt. So
100%.
it's definitely a difference maker. And I know we got some comments flying in that, our boy Jack says I'm pitching. That's a good one.
You're pitching.
Mike Carroll says, actually, why not restricted flight balls and why not hot bats to lower the scores in major 12-inch? So have you ever heard that question before?
Hot bats.
Yeah,
So
I think the shaved bats, or the bats that were, kind of.
that was the other thing. I'm glad that guy said that, because that was one thing I had wrote down was our game. There's a lot of guys that'll make comments about somebody's bat's this guy's
Yeah.
bat's that. I like the fact that when we show up at your park, we're using Brett Helmer's bats from a long time ago to
Sure.
hit this rag ball, and there's no comments made about what equipment we're using and
Right.
you guys are cheaters. And that's something I wish that our game had a little bit of, like the stock bat tournament deal,
Right.
because there's so many people that think that we're cheating, or we get these pro player models that that the general public doesn't get. And I think that part of your game's really cool. It's
Yeah.
extremely clean.
Yeah. We talk about bats, and I think I asked you or tried to ask you earlier a little bit. The bat contract thing. If you play for Rismondo, do you get a bat contract, or is that something that you have to sign with Easton? Like, what is that? What is the negotiations on that, or how does that work?
Uh, I know that most of the guys are contracted through Easton, right? And then that's now under Rawlings.
Right.
Um, and then Brett does a really good job of taking care of the guys on as far as equipment goes. If you need a bat, if a bat's not passing anymore,
Right.
getting you another one. As far as like the signature players go, like Kyle and Josh,
Yeah.
Phil, those guys. I'm not sure what like their contracts are and how that works as far as signature series guys go, and what kind of benefits they get from that. But as far as like top to bottom, we're all pretty well taken care of as
Sure.
far as that goes. We're never shy on equipment. Brett does a really good job of getting us what we need and taking care of us.
And I know I saw Mike out there this weekend, and I believe he works for Miking, correct?
Mike.
Mike, you talk
Um,
Mike Manning?
Machinko. Machinko.
Yeah, Machinko is
Yeah.
he's on the senior side. He takes care of all senior softball guys. That's he's the the Brett Helmer for the senior portion of Mikan and Easton Rawlings.
So Donnie, he's closer to my age, Donnie.
Yeah, I was gonna say he would take care of you, Jim. Would it be wonderful?
Yeah. Hey, and I would definitely appreciate that out of Mike.
Of
Maybe he can make me a senior 16-inch bat. We'll be gladly use it. So go ahead, Donnie. What's your next question?
Cory, I was gonna give you a chance to maybe talk a little trash about your teammates who didn't perform that well. I know you
Oh
talked
my
about
gosh.
Matusik struggling a little bit. Who do you think? Now this is a safe zone here. Who
That's
did
like
not?
a loaded question because I'll see these guys, pretty quick, and they have my phone number. Um, and I don't know if you noticed, but I'm the smallest dude in that dugout, so I'm not going to be too quick to be talking shit.
Just be the fastest, and they can't catch you. Remember that, Cory, right?
I would say it was everybody, man. Everybody had their moments. I had a string, I think it was 5 at bats in a row where I wanted to not play anymore. Like I was just like, this is stupid, and then finally get a hit and you're like, oh sweet, I get to get a lead. So, your emotions kind of ran up and down. And that was, part of the reason our dugout wasn't so high or low, just because everybody was in a war
Right.
trying to help the team out in some way, whether that was just moving guys over or finding a way to get a hit. It was tough.
For sure. And I know that you've got the go-to swing in 12-inch where you just kind of drop that back shoulder as far down as it goes and swing straight up in the air. Go for the 6 hole is what I was told by a teammate of yours. I'm sure you can guess who that was. But that's your go-to swing, and then it wasn't working in 60-inch softball.
So that used to be a thing where I was go pretty hard on the pull side and I'd get a really nice humpbacker. But I put some time in to actually get a good 5-6 swing. So that's not as true as it used to be. But don't get me wrong, it can still be done.
I'll tell him you said that's a complete lie when I talk to him a little bit later. But yeah, man, that's great. I appreciate you calling out everybody at once. I just got to make sure you run quick. There are some big dudes on that team.
Yeah, I don't want really a whole
yeah.
lot of those dudes getting hold of me.
So
Yeah, that's right.
what I wanted to ask you was about the home run derby. The reason why I ask you is that next year, I think, if you guys, hopefully you guys do come back. I think what Helmer was saying is he's already got it in his schedule. When I was talking to him, he had had an absolute blast with the whole weekend. So this is not something a one-time thing, and you guys are hoping to bring more people with you, which was awesome to hear. But going on the home run derby to make it a little more exciting, I know we want to shorten I want to shorten the fences next year. I think the distance was way too far. But the other thing I wanted to ask you is if we were to make the money ball, let's say the last, I don't know, 3 pitches or the last one you swing at, a 12-inch ball, how exciting would that be to watch some of the guys in
12-inch ball.
Make it a 12-inch ball and watch you guys hit a 12-inch ball as the money ball? I think that would be pretty cool to see because a lot of us 16-inch guys have never really seen most of you guys hit a 12-inch ball.
Yeah, I know. So did you watch the Derby at all?
I did.
There at the end.
A lot of guys were short up in fences, and there was only about 5 or 6 of them that actually put it out. And I want to say it was mostly your team, and then a couple guys from, I know.
Pick hit 3. Pick hit 3. I know Chicago guys. Well, we had great pitching, right? Kyle Pearson, great pitcher. That's why he hit so many homers. Pick hit 3. That's why he hit so many homers.
Jake Reynolds hit 3 or I think 2 or 3 too.
Yeah, he did.
So there were some guys that put it out, but I just felt like it needed more excitement. And I think the fences were too far. And I don't know if you move the fences in, more guys can hit it out. But maybe you do like a top 16 round robin, kind of like how Major League does it, baseball, where maybe you do something like that. Or if you do, I just think bringing the 12-inch ball into it would be awesome to watch you guys hit a 12-inch. To me, that would be exciting as a fan. I don't want to win it I don't want to enter it to win it. So I'd rather watch you guys hit a 12-inch ball, right, Donnie?
Be terrifying as the pitcher in that situation, but have at it. Go for it.
They were saying, well, you got a net, an L screen you could throw out there, but they were saying the fences, I think, were 87 yards from home plate is what I was told, I think. I think that's what I heard, or maybe 77 yards. They were not 250. I think they were further than 250, in my opinion. But either way, what do you think on that, Cory?
I know that after the Derby was over, there were some folks that wanted to see Kyle hit the 12-inch ball.
Yeah.
And Kyle talked about that after that. Once you're hitting that 16-inch ball and then transition straight to the 12-inch, he felt like he was hitting a marble. So I think that would present some difficulties if you just like quickly added it. To the Derby mid. You're on your 7th swing and your last 3, you're hitting that little marble. I think that could present some challenges. I don't know how you could incorporate it to where you'd get the consistent result you're looking for that the guys usually produce whenever they're just hitting the 12-inch ball.
Well, hey, maybe next year when you guys come, if we do bring more 12-inch teams in, maybe we just make the home run derby 12-inch and we have a blast with it. I mean, there's a lot of guys.
I think that would be cool. I think your guys that are 16-inch guys all the time would have a really good time with that.
Yeah.
Because they're not accustomed to the home run, and then you add that for them. I think that brings a lot more excitement than hitting the 16-inch home run derby.
100%. And maybe that's something we do. We'd have to bring probably 3,000 12-inch balls.
You definitely would have to have some willing volunteers to shag.
Yeah, and complex, we'd have to make sure no one's in that football field. That's for sure.
Yeah, Matusik hit a couple up on there in his second round. He was locked in.
He was 6 of 7. So in the second round, he got 7 swings. He hit 6 homers. So he
hit
cool, and that was
six in
exciting.
a row.
Yeah,
he was 6 for 6 going into his 7th ball.
It was so cool. We did have KP take a swing with the 12, and I think in all of the bags combined, you guys had 2 12-inch balls, which I thought was very funny, by the way. They didn't have any.
Well, I think, if you pack the balls and stuff, you run out of room for all your clothes.
Sure.
Because most guys throw their clothes into their ball bag, and that's the bag that they use to travel with. So I think that's probably part of it. And I know a lot of guys traveled with the 16-inch ball, so we had something to hit for BP.
Yeah, a lot of sense. It was cool to see him hit a 12-inch ball, though, when the Derby was over. A lot of people were pretty excited about that.
that's one thing I wish we could have done, because the few people, that we were talking to, they kept mentioning, like they were talking to me like about cut swings, almost like I didn't know what they were. And
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like
Fair,
we
fair.
don't do the soft cut.
Right.
And I think that there might be a disconnect there, that we do cut a 12-inch ball. And I
Right.
think that would be extremely eye-opening for some people, seeing guys like Kyle, Bubba especially, and then obviously Bradley Jones wasn't there. But if
Mhm.
you guys see those guys cut a 12-inch ball and keep it 4 or 5 feet off the ground for 350 feet, that kind of stuff is, that's the eye-opening stuff. The ball going far is really impressive, but
Yeah.
those guys that cut it extremely well, um, that would be eye-opening for some people out there, to see how low they can keep the ball and hit it far.
That's
You know,
cool.
we just had a really good comment come in here, and I'm going to share this. Justin, he says we should do a teams event. One guy hits a 12-inch, the other guy hits a 16-inch. You know,
That
that might be something that's pretty cool. I mean, you know, and that's why I think that's why we do this, right? We want to come up with ideas. We want to come up with new things to make the game interesting. You guys made this weekend interesting for me,
Yeah.
and for a lot of players that played. You know, maybe some of the new guys don't really understand. Some of the younger guys don't really understand. But the guys that have played this game 10 plus years, you guys coming in made this weekend interesting. And it hasn't, for us, this
Yep.
complex has made our game better at this weekend. But this weekend, I felt with you guys there, it really kind of took us to the next level. And I felt that amongst all the players. I think all the
100%.
excitement, the Iowa guys were excited you were there. I just think it was new, right? And I think next year we want to keep that same excitement. We want to bring more teams in, and at the same time, let's do some different things, right? And so hopefully the SSA will work with us, and if not, then we're gonna have to figure something out. But either way, I think from that aspect, it's really cool to see, And I know I think there was a comment made. Someone posted or sent me a screenshot of it that the SSA had like 35,000 followers now or something like that. And someone underneath it
Yes.
posted, you better thank Rismondo. It's that is true, right?
Mhm.
But we need to get your reporter on the field, right? We need to
Yeah.
get him live too. He needs to be a part of what we do. To me, that's a mistake on our end. We need to get him out there. Yes, he was out there doing the condensed games and the videos on Sunday, but he wasn't able to live stream. More attention we bring to our game is better for all the players, regardless of where it's coming from, in my opinion. We should
Bingo.
allow people to get out there and live stream. You know what I mean? And I think that is something that we need to work on as a group and figure out. And it's something that I think, we can only make it better. And, who knows? You bring the other, I was talking with Dale, he said there's like 8 teams, I think, that are open this weekend for Labor Day weekend for next year. And he had spoke with some of them, or he was going to speak with some of them, and I think it's cool to hear, because I think I felt the excitement in his voice, and he don't even play, so it's just really cool to see, you know what I mean? Really.
that's part of it, right? Like we play these weekends, and uh I think this is my 9th or 10th season. But as far as like turnover in the 12-inch game, most guys have been around. Like you'll see the young up and comers, but you're playing like Roofex. We played them
Mhm.
7 or 8 times this year. Monsta, we play them 7 or 8 times this year. We run into just the way the brackets work out. The best teams usually win, and you run into those same teams every weekend. And just being a part of something different, it was exciting by itself. We
Right.
don't know who the hell's out there. We
Right.
don't know anybody, and that was part of the excitement too, right? Like obviously the defensive adjustments we were able to make with that guy in the dugout, like that was cool. But if we don't have him, we don't know nothing.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're 100% right. And I think, to your point, that's what made it so exciting for us, is because I think everyone at the park wanted to play you guys, you know,
100%. And
and
for the first time, Jim, if I could add something, for the
yeah,
first time I heard that teams were disappointed that they were playing at the same time as you guys, so they couldn't watch. That doesn't really happen in our game. Just kind of like something you mentioned, right? You play the same teams over and over again. We play the same guys over and over again as well. We see these guys all the time, and it's like, man, we kind of wanted to see the new kid at school to see what he's wearing on his first day, right? It was really cool to hear that kind of chatter around the park, like, oh, they play at 11:15, and that was the only game people talked about. So the exposure that you guys gave us in terms of the excitement for the game was so big and so important. We got a really good question too. How do you think an A or B 12-inch team would do in 16-inch nationals? Because we went straight to the top, Cory. We didn't go for the small guy. We went for the top dog.
And this isn't me again. I'm not talking bad about anybody, but
Sure.
you said that people were excited to play us.
Yeah.
That's not traditionally the view.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most people aren't excited to play us. Resmondo has a tradition, right? Of winning, and when you're in the early rounds of those tournaments, most of those teams, they don't want to play us because they don't want to go to the losers bracket or what have you. So to hear you say that people want to play us, that's cool, because they wanted to see what it was like. And I see Brett's comment on there.
Yeah.
I'm so glad he said that, because I heard y'all talking about it and I didn't get a chance to really get involved in that.
Yeah.
Because I think that was when I was in the waiting room. But those dudes kept saying, like, that was one of the negatives that we got from people, was like,
Sure.
oh yeah, you're wearing a glove, you don't really know what it's like. And I get it, but we can't risk, like, our guys currently going into October with the major coming up,
Right.
like breaking 2 or 3 fingers. I don't know what happens at those tournaments.
Yeah.
But what I will say is exactly what Brett said. I'm game for that no glove stuff. Like, I will play it in a heartbeat. I know all those other dudes will too.
Oh yeah.
To be able to kind of back all those dudes talking trash about it. Like, I'll play y'all no gloves. I ain't afraid to play y'all no gloves. It's just timing's not real good right now.
Yeah. So the last weekend of July is the one that everyone keeps talking about. So if Brett's listening, it's the last full weekend in July. So for next year, if I look at a calendar, because it's always the same weekend every single year, next year will be the 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th of July. So that is what we call the Mecca of 16-inch softball. That is the No Glove National. That is held in Forest Park, which is right off of 290 in Des Plaines. You probably have no idea where that's at.
I heard about a lot of people talked about that tournament. I heard Forest Park several times.
Yeah.
The fence is shorter there.
There are no fences there.
There's no fences. Yeah.
Oh.
So it's wide
all you
open.
can get.
It's all you can get. Now there is a fence on. Well, there's a
Oh,
fence
yeah.
on both diamonds, but on diamond 2, there's a fence in left field, which is probably
it's
about as far as what Jason hit this past weekend.
Have you guys ever played on, like, fast pitch dimensions before?
And
We don't get a ton of exposure to fast pitch 12 around here, to be honest with you.
I mean, like, the dimensions of the field. Like, the fast pitch field is the same base length as you guys, but their fences are 220, 230.
no,
Have you ever played 16-inch on a
Not a
field
ton.
setup like that?
No, not really.
No. There's a tournament.
I think that would be pretty sweet.
There's a Westmont tournament that's
Yeah.
like a neighborhood thing. They play on 200
cool.
foot fence.
It's cool because I feel like somebody that weekend because I can hit one over the fence. Usually I'm nobody. That's fun. The fences are 200 feet and everybody can hit one out. So that makes for a really cool weekend for guys who kind of play in a fun tournament. A lot of comments coming in too. A lot of guys are saying that you would break our guys' fingers, which is probably true. That would suck on us too.
That was the one thing, like, we were kind of like, man, like, we're hitting this ball pretty hard and you guys don't want to use gloves. I feel like that's kind of like, I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to get into, like, a war with people, but I did feel like, because I thought of all of our hitters, I thought Phil cuts everything, and he was hitting the ball. He was still hitting it hard. I thought Phil hit the ball the hardest out of everybody in our lineup. Obviously, Matusik hit the homers, But
Mhm.
as far as when Phil was hitting it down and
Right.
cutting it, he was hammering it. And I don't know that many people are going to really want,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That ball, I know it's slower, but he was hammering it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, and that's just kind of like what we're used to. And you know what I mean? And so that's what a lot of guys say, like, and that's what you'll hear is like, oh, we don't normally, there's a lot of hard nosed guys in our game that don't like playing with the glove, and so that's why you're probably hearing what you heard over the weekend. And they've been saying that before for 15 years because, when the SSA started, originally their plan was to take away the glove. They never did that. And I don't blame them because, and to my point, like with Forest Park, that's our no glove national. This glove, I feel, allows us to bring in teams like yourself and other teams to come in and play our game. Because let's face it, I don't think Rismondo would have played this weekend no barehanded if we played a barehanded tournament. To me, it just doesn't. First off, you're not knowing what you're getting into, and second off, it's like, why would other teams from other cities that don't play without a glove come in and play a game barehanded? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so I think we can actually utilize the glove to promote our game because it does attract more people and more teams and more opportunities. And then at that point, to your point, like when Iowa started with us years ago, they didn't really play. They only played with a glove. And then they slowly transitioned into playing no glove. And now, I hear all the time from the Iowa guys, they like playing without the glove more than they do with the glove. So, it's kind of a thing that it takes time. And yeah, maybe down the road, we'd love to have you guys play the no glove tournament. It would be awesome to give it a shot if it works out. And if it doesn't, I mean, we're thrilled with you guys coming to major nationals and being a
Mhm.
part of what we've witnessed. And I think that's only going to grow. You know what I mean? I
I,
think
I
it's gonna
agree.
grow. And after this weekend, you guys were the staple.
Yep.
And we'll talk about our man Staples later. Donnie.
No pun intended, of course.
No pun intended. But we will. You guys are going to be the main people to start this thing, and we
Yeah.
can't thank you guys enough. And Brett's basically stood up and said, "We're ready. We're coming, and we're coming to win it." And I loved it, and you guys did. But I didn't think, I don't know, when you guys came, I wasn't too familiar with a lot of your. I mean, I was able to watch a lot of your stuff before you guys came, but I thought you was going to take a little time to adapt to hitting the 16-inch ball because it is different. It is different. But you guys picked it up a lot quicker than I thought, and maybe the 6 hours of BP in the dome definitely helped.
I think just being guys that have played for so long, there's this, I thought we used the middle of the field pretty well
Yeah,
when we were base hitting, trying to just kind of go back to the fundamentals, just hit a line drive through the middle of the field because I felt like that was something that was open a lot. But if you hit it down, the pitcher's caught it, which is traditionally not how it goes.
Sure.
So that got frustrating, right? You'd hit a ball real hard, and the dude for 45s, he's an older fella,
Is he
but God, I
the
mean,
pitcher?
I don't get it. The guy, I mean, he's an older, and I know it's a 16-inch ball, but some of those balls were going through there hard, and he caught every one of them.
Yeah, he's very similar without a glove as well. He's darn good up the middle. And yeah, like you said, he's an older fella. He played professional baseball, played for the Kansas City Royals, was a pitcher in the MLB. So he's got years of experience, and he's been playing 16-inch for a long time. A pretty good question too that Jack Nakanishi put: would we get more 12-inch teams if the tournament was in a different city?
Man, I'm probably not the best guy to ask about that, just because I'm not exactly sure as far as
Logistically,
what area would probably get
yeah,
the most people. I
yep,
would assume like a in the Kentucky, Tennessee area, somewhere in there would probably be better, more central. Um, would
right,
would probably be better just because of driving. You'd get those guys from Florida, Louisiana, all across the bottom portion of the United States, able to drive. And
right.
and that's where softball is extremely popular, right? The weather's better year round. That's where the most softball takes place. So I think the closer you get to the southern states, I think the better is probably how I would answer that.
sure.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I just don't know if we're going to get as many the funding for some of the 16-inch teams is where that runs into a problem. But I definitely know the major people can make it work. I just don't know if some of those lower level, either A or high A teams would be able to make that trip, just because things are now are very
Yeah,
expensive.
you'd have to find like a central portion, it that people would have to probably make 8-hour drives or less. And then I
Right.
think you'd see a huge gain in teams.
Yep.
Our guy Drew put Iowa. So we actually go to Marshalltown, Iowa, which is out in the middle of cornfields, but there's a tremendous bar there, old timers. And the place is just awesome, but it's 250-foot fences, and I probably would not want to play you guys on those fields. Just
No,
like
that
when
was
we go there, we really don't want to play the Iowa guys because they all hit it out over 250. The same thing with you guys. That'd be a hell of a matchup, you guys versus Iowa in the Marshalltown fields with 250-foot fences. How many home runs do you think you'd hit there?
I don't know, man. I was as far as hitting it far, that wasn't my jam this weekend at all. I was really, I'd say, I don't know, if I had 20 at bats, I would say 18 of the 20, I was trying to go the glove side of the pitcher. Because
Yeah,
that was the other thing we talked about, like defensive adjustments. I didn't feel like teams were making them. Like
yeah,
Bazat plays the middle extremely well as far as not
He was incredible.
showing the same side or moving on the pitch.
yeah,
That was
Yeah.
one thing that I noticed. I had the first game, I had 2 hits on the glove side of the pitcher. And on my third at bat, the middleman didn't move over. So I hit my third ball through the same spot.
right,
So I thought that was kind of odd that throughout the game that didn't change very much. And then
right.
that continued. Like the middleman traditionally played on the pull side.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Yep.
that's a good point. I mean, they in our game normally that short center is not behind the base, and I did notice that on you guys. You guys are kind of more behind the base, behind the pitcher,
Yeah,
and
and Bazat will get a read then too. He'll read it
Mhm.
and make a jump, or he'll take off on the pitch. So your hole that you might have been looking at's taken away.
yeah, no, that's a good point. So, Donnie, before I ask my last question, is there anything that you
Yeah, man.
have that you want to ask him?
I've got one more thing for you. Cory, appreciate you coming on the show so much. The viewers are loving it. A lot of comments for you. The last thing I was going to ask you is a Resmondo question. What's next for you guys this season? And you've picked up a ton of fans from us over here, Chicago, people watching right now. How do we watch your games, and how do we cheer on your guys kind of in the next couple weeks of your season?
So the live stream is on. It's USSSA Live.
Okay.
We'll be in Alabama September 13th through the 15th, and then the major is that first full week of October.
Okay.
Those are the last 2 events. The last tournament's the one that we're trying to be perfect for. Unfortunately, you guys didn't get to meet Bradley this weekend. You guys didn't get to meet Greg Cannell, right? Greg Cannell's Hall of Famer. He's known all over for 12-inch softball. So you guys didn't get to meet those guys. Bradley is, if you follow 12-inch
Yep.
softball, you know who Bradley is. If you don't follow 12-inch softball, go watch some videos and you'll know what I'm talking about whenever
Mhm.
I'm saying his name. He's a special talent, and you guys obviously didn't get to see him, which is unfortunate. But going into the end, the end of this season, it's all about October and winning those last 5 or 6 games, whatever it takes to win the major. That's what our lineups put together for the Smoky, the ASA, and then the major, and it's the
So,
biggest event of them all.
all right. So the October, you said October 1st.
The first full week of October.
So does Rosmondo have enough in their budget to fly Uncle Jimmy and Cousin Donnie down to do some live all weekend long?
I'm in.
Again,
Count me in.
that is not a question for me.
I think Brett Homer's in the
That
chat. He can
that
answer that.
is that. Yeah, that's a Brett question. That's a Mama Cheryl question. If you're on good
Yeah.
side of Mama Cheryl,
I love Mama
I am.
Cheryl.
I am. We chatted a few times. We're in good spirits with Mama Cheryl for sure. I'll just
Mama
make sure I
Cheryl's
wear a
our
matching shirt.
yeah, there you go.
Donnie, I will off air talk to you about that. That's in like 3 weeks. We might be able to make that happen.
That would be really special for our viewers
if
to get
that's
exposed to your game.
if you're trying to come watch the 12-inch game, in my opinion, I would go to the Smoky in Tennessee, or I would be going to the Major. I wouldn't go
Yeah,
to any of the 300s. No offense to those places, but that that's where you get to see the showcase of power and talent.
sure.
And the Major, the field, the lights, it's awesome. The
Is it
coverage,
unlimited homers in major?
yes.
Okay,
So
so that could be really
the
cool.
question that came in, how many teams are usually in that? And they said 4 major and a bunch of double A and single A teams, correct?
Yeah, so the conference this year, I'm not sure the exact total number of teams, but let's call it 30. Um, the top 16 make the Major. Um, it
Hmm.
might be top 18. I'm not really sure. I think it's 16. I think they used to let in like the 17th seed was like a military team would be able to play into the tournament.
Right.
But it's pretty limited. It's the top 16 points teams, and you get seeded, and it's one game a day until Friday. You play two, and then Saturday is when you usually crown a champion.
So Brett Helmer busting my balls here, and I had to put it up on the screen. He says he's going to ask Gio if our two are allowed to travel in October. So
That's a good
um,
comment.
that's
Corey,
that's
there's
a
not
good
enough time in
comment.
this show to go over all of that. So be thankful that you are on the tail end of that one. This is a good question, too. A lot of Resmondo guys have bats named after them. We should get them to make a 16-inch bat. So that'd be pretty cool. We got our guy Mike Hendricks, who was on the show a couple weeks ago, who just created a new 16-inch softball bat. So that's kind of exciting on our end. I know you guys got bats made every year, for your caliber players. So just cool for us on that end. Jimmy, why don't you take it away with your last one, my man?
Yeah. So two last questions. First, from the comments, one guy asked, "Has there ever been a non-major team win
Oh, good
the
question.
major event for 12-inch that you know of?"
Ooh.
Good question.
Not since I've been playing 12-inch, and I started in 2016, and I know Resmondo has a ton of titles. I would venture to guess that's a no. Um,
And that
because I
came
know in my 9 years, I've played in the championship game all 9 years.
okay.
That's
So
cool.
I I don't think that that's ever happened.
All right. So the last question of every show for every guest, I always ask the same question because it's about growing your game. It's about improving what we do. And that question is Corey, if you had one thing in softball, whether it be 12-inch or 16-inch, now that you've actually played our game, what would you do to make the game better? Now, whether it be new or change. So you can bring in something new that you would say, hey, if we were to do this, this is going to put us in a better spot moving forward, or something that we currently do now that you can change that would make the game better, both in 12-inch or 16-inch. Your call.
Mm, there's a lot of things I would like to talk about, but I would probably say increase the length of the bases
Okay.
for our
No,
game.
that's a terrible idea.
I would I would like to see that, I think. And that
So
goes
for a
back,
12-inch.
yeah, because it on some of those smaller fields, um, your infielders are in a war already because of the speed of the ball, and then when we're playing on some of those smaller fields, the guys that can really run, you've got to be perfect to get them out. I do like the length of the longer bases, especially when we're on those big fields.
Sure.
It brings infield defense back into play. Like it's a little
You
bit,
play
it's
90
obviously
foot?
easier.
You
No,
play
they
90
go
on
to
the
80.
oh, you go
80.
80. Okay. But on the big league,
I think the major's 75 though. I think it's only 80 at the Smoky. But
oh
it's a
really?
game changer. It's a game changer. Infielders can really go get and make plays, diving plays, and still throw people out. Like this weekend, if you made a diving play, you weren't throwing anybody out.
Right.
And that's the same is true in our game on the smaller fields. You can dive, but you're not getting nobody unless there's a force out at like second or something.
Right.
So I like the idea of lengthening the bases. And then I know you said only one thing, but I really wish they would do this for our game is on a 3-1 count, don't let the hitters call time.
Oh.
Like that's like a popular thing to do is if a pitcher throws, because it's 1-1, pitcher throws two straight balls and you're in a 3-1 count about to walk, tons of hitters call time and step out of the box and dick around. And
Really?
yeah, I don't know if the thought is that you're going to get a free walk or something, or you're going to get the pitcher out of a rhythm to potentially throw the next pitch for a strike. I hate it. I can't stand it. But I'd make that a rule. I would tell them, you can't step out on 3-1 or something like that. Because that drives me nuts, especially being in center field.
That's interesting. I don't think we've never had that on our show.
I'm doing that. Oh man, I can't wait to do that.
I mentioned that this year to Andy about at least add to the rule that they can only call time once in an at bat. Kind of like the MLB deal, because there's guys that if they get a bad strike called on them, they'll call time and show up the umpire, and it's no different. Like I learned that too this weekend, that talking crap to the umpires, and it happens in 16-inch too. But the calling time always when you're up to bat, that stuff's got to go away, because the pace of our game is already tough whenever you're getting those 30, 40, 50 run games. I know you said one thing, but when you sent that question today, I was like, oh yeah.
You made me think of another question, and that is, you mentioned umpiring. What did you think of our umpiring? Because I know I'm not going to share, but I know what some of the individuals on the team had mentioned, both good and bad. But what did you think of the umpiring overall for the weekend?
I didn't really have any problems at the plate with them, but I'm a free swinger, I guess you could say. I'm not a guy traditionally looking for the walk. The first good pitch I see, I'm taking a hack. So they didn't bother me too bad. I know that there was a lot of complaining about some of Travis's pitching. Everybody saying it's flat or whatever. And we were shocked, because to us it didn't look flat, and I don't know, it was weird. But I thought the umpires were fine. I didn't think there was any.
Yeah.
I don't have any problems with how they did this weekend. I thought they did fine.
Travis had like the little bunny hop when he was throwing too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people that's just not normally seen in our
different.
game.
It's very different.
I did like the pump fake rule though. That's another one you could talk about too. In our game, the pitchers get 5 seconds. I know that doesn't sound like a lot of time, but those guys can rod on that mound and they can pump fake 10 times and it gets ridiculous, right? And in your game, it's 2 pumps and go, or and that helps pace too. Something small like that.
So Cory, at this point, this is where we hand it over to you. We ask you if you have any questions for both myself and Donnie. It could be anything that's on your mind, anything that you want to ask myself or Donnie. This is the part of the show where we hand it over to you. So go right ahead if you have any questions.
I kind of asked it earlier, but a lot of folks that play the game of softball in general, the whole deal I feel like is to still be able to hit the long ball. And in your game, that is not part of it. So is there not a craving, like I had asked, does the league, the SSA ever consider playing on a much smaller dimension to add the ability to be a little more home run frequent? Because like I said, most people play softball because they want to hit the long ball. They want to hit it hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying you can't hit a 16-inch hard, but are those things ever talked about in your community as far as trying to bring in the long ball a little bit more?
Donnie, why don't you go ahead and then I'll finish.
A lot of the long ball, hard ball is a lot of guys accepting that they just can't hit the ball that far, the 16-inch ball that far. Yeah, guilty, Jimmy, guilty, of course. It's just not. Essentially we've found success other ways to play the game, if that kind of makes sense. You've got guys that just pretty much soft cut it and flip it and try to hit holes through the infield. there are specific tournaments where the home run comes into play a little bit more. It doesn't have the excitement that I think people wanted to see in that aspect, if that makes sense. It's great. It's cool. The home runs are cool. It just isn't as desired as I think you would expect in a 16-inch softball game. If that kind of answers that.
Yeah. So my answer to it is, well, it's kind of a couple things. First off, when you play at the major level and you do hit gaps,
Yeah.
that's kind of the only way you're really beating an outfielder is by hitting him in the gap. Most of those outfielders, if you hit a long ball, are going to run it down because the majority of the fences we play on, or majority of the fields we play on, don't have fences.
Right.
So, so that's another thing is that, yeah, you guys can play you 300 feet, and if you hit it 310 feet, it's a flyout, you know?
Right.
So that's where I feel like for us, a lot of the fields we play on don't have fences. And, you know, and I think also on the flip side of that, I think a lot of guys fall in love with the cut and the flip, and they get away from swinging hard. And it actually affects the game to some point because once you fall in love with it, it's hard to go back to swinging hard. And I notice there's not many guys that can still do both and do both pretty well. You know, you cheat certain cut hitters. Yeah, they could beat you in the gap, they can go over your head, but it's a lot harder to do that as a cut hitter than it is, you know, swinging all the time. And I think it just kind of goes through, you go through habits with it, right? Like, you know, when you're cutting and people will say like, I cut a lot. Okay. But like, I felt like this weekend, I hardly cut at all. And I think like, because I was just trying to swing hard. So I don't know, like it just, you go through stages, you know what I mean? And I think it's just kind of what your point is like, hey, the short center's on that side. I'm going to bury that hole 3 or 4 times because the guy's moving, right? And it's the same thing with that. And I think that's where a lot of the flips and the cuts and things like that come up because we have guys we have Big Al on my team. He's 6'4", 250 pounds. He can hit the ball, you know, 300 feet sometimes, you know, 275 feet. But when we play, that's just mostly a flyout for him.
Right.
So he has to adjust to become a better hitter. And that's where he comes up with the flips and the cuts. And when those guys play that deep, that just makes those balls that much wide open. So, yeah, I mean, I would love to play on fences, but, you know, then I don't know, like the scores turn into 30 to 40. And is that much baseball? I don't know. I mean, that's what you guys are used to. You know, we're not used to that. So,
Yeah, I'm not on board with bringing them in so close that everybody is
Sure.
able to do it.
including,
But I like the idea of bringing it into where maybe 50% of your roster is able to do it. And then
yeah,
obviously you could put extremely strict limits on it and do like 3 a game or something. But I think it just adds a little, it could add a little bit of spice to it.
yeah,
And then here's a question I had. I know that the bats that we were using were heavy, right?
yeah,
And that's I assume that's what you guys use.
Yeah.
the clincher one.
So a lot of the
Okay.
bats range
So
from like 30 ounces to 38 ounces.
so after seeing some of our guys go back to their traditional 12-inch bats, swinging 27 ounces, do you guys see that and then maybe say, why are we using these heavy bats?
Good question.
And are you guys gonna maybe look into dialing back the heavy bats and maybe try something lighter? Or is that just something that it has to be a part of your game?
That's a great question. I think you guys are special in that it almost doesn't matter with the bats, in my opinion. However, I think some guys will change the approach they take to swinging because a lot of your guys are one step and go. If you notice, almost all of our hitters are an approach, a 2-3 step approach, and then the swing, right? It's are we going to try standing still, taking a step, and going like you guys are doing? I don't think it has a ton to do, you know, with the actual bats. I don't think our guys would be as successful with the lighter bats just because we have no clue how to swing those lighter bats. Will I buy one because I saw you guys hitting with them? Hell yeah. Just because it's cool. It will change guys' approach and feel at the plate, not so much in the bats, but in the actual stance and swing, I think.
Yeah, obviously we would have to like set up some stuff for it, but that was
Hmm.
a conversation that a lot of us were having was, does taking away some bat speed and adding the mass
Yeah.
help, or does maintaining your bat speed with a little less mass, is that better? Right?
Right.
You'd have to
Hmm.
really set that up and look at some exit speeds and stuff,
Right.
and then overall distance. But that was a conversation, I know, especially early in that first BP we took, when I mean, we had, I don't know, 25 bats laying on the ground. We were all trying to figure out what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that would be an interesting thing to kind of look at and see what kind of results you would get.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. And we do have the radar guns that we can test that out in, Donnie.
That's
So
true.
it will get you a 12-inch bat and a 16-inch, and let's see how
I'm
you.
not the guy to test with that. We'll actually have a decent hitter in there. That would be pretty cool to kind of get the comparison to. But a good comment says a lot of us won't have your bat speed with the lighter bats. So, we'll get somebody that's maybe comparable, but it would be
And that,
almost a
yeah.
disadvantage for us to use lighter bats.
And that was the argument or whatever that I had, was that these guys aren't swing. You guys don't swing the heavier bat to produce distance.
Right.
I argued that you swing a heavier bat because you're taking that light swing where you're trying to do that soft cut,
Yep.
but you need enough ass in it that it's going to carry over the infield.
Right.
So you're not swinging real hard, but because the bat is heavy, it takes care of the distance control that you need to get it up and over.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's a great point. And
Correct.
yeah, I never thought of it that way. I just felt like the heavier bat with slow pitch, you don't need to be so fast with your hands. It was more of just let the kind of the bat do to your point, let the bat do the action. It's something that I could definitely think about. And I picked up, I actually took some swings in the dome with those 28 with the 7.5 ounce end load. They did not feel that light. They felt a little heavier than a normal 12-inch bat. So it was, it was interesting for sure. It might be something that we wouldn't look into, especially for Donnie. Donnie needs a lot of help. So
Jeez, man.
Perfect.
He
Yeah,
kills
no.
you.
Yeah, I catch a lot of heat on this show, Cory. This is kind of my role within this organization. Just catch some heat. That's it. It's all right.
hey, but you know what, Cory? That's how I show my love to him. All right.
That's it.
No, I hear it all the time from my guys. That's how it is in our dugout too. If they ain't talking shit to you, then you should start worrying.
Right. That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Sometimes,
So,
sometimes it really hurts. It's okay.
Cory, I just want to say thank you, man, for taking time joining us on our show. You've been fantastic. You've answered a ton of questions. You know, at this point, like I said, I just want to say thank you for tonight, and we hope to see you very soon. And
Yeah.
I'm going to reach out to you guys because I'm going to see what was the weekend in October.
The
What
first
weekend is that?
That the first full week. I'm really bad about dates and stuff.
Would that be the 4th, 5th, and 6th? It has to be, right?
I don't think so. I think is that the first full week?
Yeah,
I think
first.
then
Oh,
it's the
maybe the
second.
10th,
It's the
10th,
second
11th,
week. It's the
12th,
same.
13th.
Yeah, it's the same week as my son's birthday every
Okay,
year.
so 10, 11, 12. So you guys play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Is that how it works?
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Oh,
Oh,
Jimmy's so mad
oh,
right now internally.
so wait a minute. You guys start tournaments on Wednesday and end them on Saturday, huh?
That's only this
Oh
one.
boy.
Oh,
Most often they all start, unless they're a duel, then duels will start sometimes on Thursdays, but most often it's Friday, Saturday, and then early Sunday.
right.
9 through the
Huh.
12th.
Interesting, Donnie, how the major national ends on a Saturday night. Isn't that funny
Now
how it works?
here it comes. Cory, you can sign
It
off now.
didn't
This
used
might
to,
go off.
it didn't used to be like that. It didn't used to be like that.
You know why? Because 12-inch probably saw,
Your
that
show.
Saturday probably bring a bigger crowd.
They
Hey,
watched
I
our
do want to
show.
say, I did want to say one thing. I know that we don't get to talk to everybody out there, but we appreciated it as a whole, as a group, how friendly everybody was out there. Like I said, the only flack we caught was that we were wearing a glove. Beyond, right, beyond that, everybody was super cool, and they were interested in the 12-inch game, and we shared some stuff with them about how Resmondo works, and I don't know. It was just a really cool experience. It was new, exciting, different, but we really appreciated the 16-inch community being so welcoming and not treating us like we didn't belong there or what
Right.
have you. It was fun.
Yeah, like I said, with you guys coming in, we wanted to do all we could to make it the best experience as possible. And I think, for the most part, everyone did their part with doing that for you guys. So hopefully you guys see that. And I'm glad you mentioned that. So that's awesome. So thank you. But
That's a
there,
great comment right there. Bring a
yeah,
women's team, because
Christine,
Brett can probably make that happen as well, because he's got, obviously he helps take care of the women's side too, and so does Don Cooper with the Derby girls.
right.
So you know that could definitely be a possibility too, as far as bringing a women's team.
Yeah,
That was cool.
absolutely. So that'll be something we could talk about too off air, and we can see if we can make it both happen for next year. So that'd be great. So Cory, man, I
Corey,
thank you
thanks,
so
man.
much. We got some rumor mill to get to. We got some staple videos. If you want to hang out in the green room or just watch us live, that'd be great. Definitely
Yeah, I'll
appreciate
definitely do that.
Thank you for your time, man. And hopefully Donnie and I can make that work. Donnie,
Yeah, that'd be great.
how far of a drive do you think that is for us to go to the major national for you guys for 12-inch?
Where's that?
For you, how far of a drive is that?
Yeah. Where's
So
it at?
it's in
Alabama?
Vieira. Oh, you're talking about Alabama? I don't know how far that would be. I thought you were talking about Vieira going to the major.
Yeah, the major. Where is it at?
It's gonna be a hell of a drive,
Vieira,
Jimmy.
Florida. Yeah, you're going all the way to Florida, man. You better have like a Honda or something, man. With gas prices.
Corey, you know how much I'll get picked on in a 28-hour drive with Jimmy Moretti? I don't want to do that, so we're not coming.
Well, Donnie, we can literally do our show, Donnie, the whole way.
Like
Yeah.
10 shows.
Yeah, 28 shows.
But all right, Cory, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. We'll see you very soon, man. Appreciate it. Thank you so.
Thanks,
Hey,
brother.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
Hey, you could tell the joy, man, of these guys. They really enjoyed the weekend, and I think the softball community did a great job. The players, the teams, everybody. I mean, I can't. I honestly can't thank them enough. I mean, the amount of support that they showed these guys, and that's what this is all about. That's why we started this show, Donnie. We started the show for numerous, but that is the main reason why we started the show, is to really grow our game, just because I feel we could take it to the next level, and I think we're starting to do that with the support of the players, as we always talk about. So it's an awesome thing.
Agree with you 100%, my man. And it was really cool to hear kind of his opinion from inside the dugout after the tournament was over. And we talked to Travis and KP before the tournament started, and just kind of the attitude stayed the same. They came to win. They were professional. They handled business. And Batnich says I can watch the Resmondo documentary on the drive, and I probably will. So we shall see.
So before we get to rumor mill, okay?
Yes.
Every week, this is a new segment of the show. We talk about our man Staples, who is also having the ASA Major National this weekend in Schaumburg. I believe the draw is out. I believe they got 13 or 14 teams.
I think it's one day.
It's one day. It's Saturday. And, for the most part, they're doing it awesome, right? They're doing some good things. So this is how we tribute to our boy Staples. This video was sent to me. This was an argument, okay, that took place, I believe, a year ago.
It was at Archer Park, I believe this video took place. And what a moment in Staples' career for this to go down.
Let's hope. I believe it's going to work. So let's just see. Hopefully it works. What is he doing? What is he doing?
He's suspending Julian.
Oh.
Is the sound working?
Oh, yeah, it's working. That is awesome. So that's Julian yelling at him.
Correct.
And then this is at Archer Park. This is a Sunday league, right? Is that Chavez right there? Who's that? 21.
Oh my God.
He's kicking him out. And there's Marky Robinson. Oh, dude. What were they doing? Kicking him out of the tournament?
Because you can't have drinks not in koozies at Archer on Sunday morning. And they didn't have drinks in the koozies. And then Julian argued a little bit about it. And then it is an unbelievable video. Hopefully the sound worked for some of you guys. Hopefully it did, because the commentary between the two is amazing. And that Julian says, "Can I explain?" Please, you can go ahead and type in the chat to explain. It's a Sunday morning league, and Staples suspended Julian from the league at that moment in time.
Sunday morning league. like it's the major national. What is we need to have Staples on soon, man. He's got to be a guest coming up, you know. He has to.
He'll be on the show for sure. I think that'll be a great episode.
So we also episode 69. I believe today is 65. Episode 69. We have to have our boy Joey Carbs. So he's already locked in stone. All right. Okay. Joey Carbs is locked in for episode number 69. So that is definitely.
Will we be doing the interview from a remote location that Joey Carbs is very familiar with?
Maybe. Never know.
Okay, because that could be a wonderful show for those that understand that joke. Go ahead.
So let's get into our rumor mill. So I am first going to start by rumor mill this year is going to start by a man that was talked about numerous times last year on this show and from numerous teams that we had heard. So this year we're going to play this game of, where's Julian?
Where's Julian?
Yeah.
This is America's favorite game show. Where's Julian Russell?
Where's Julian Russell and what team? I mean, look at this. Look at this photo here.
Look at that. I worked hard on this. You know how much work that took?
Dude, that's high quality editing
pretty
right there.
Good, right? It's pretty good.
Look at the smile on that guy's face.
I know.
Jeez.
So
go if you want to go ahead with the first rumor about Julian Russell. What is the rumor?
Julian Russell.
The 45's already called him, right? So what's the rumor?
Correct. Julian Russell answered the phone call from Nate Mercado and said, "You know what, Nate? I gave you guys a runaround last year. With maybe going to High Y or Circus or someone different." He said, "I'm going to confirm this year that I am going to play with the 45s next season." So Julian Russell will be a member of the 45s come next season. And that's where's Julian Russell.
Ah, beautiful. Beautiful. So I'm sure next week Julian Russell will be on another team.
Correct. But we don't know who yet.
We're not sure yet, but by then we will find them. So the next rumor that I have is Players Inc. The 4 or 5 members of Players Inc. is going to be leaving Players Inc. And starting an old team. So I'm not really sure where they're going, but the rumor is that our boy Pete is going to be looking for players. And so if you want to play softball for a guy who's going to support you, reach out to our boy Pete with Players Inc.
Yep. Pete DeJoy is a guy that has been around the game for a while. And, you know, we talked to him on the phone, Jim, and he was passionate about wanting to still run a team. So if you are interested in playing softball at the major level, Pete's a guy that will run the team and support you. I have the next rumor is, I know we've heard this for a couple of years, but it looks like it's official that Chicago Dynasty may have played their last game together at Major Nationals this year. So you heard it, Chicago Dynasty is probably no longer around.
Interesting.
Which gives their players an opportunity to go play somewhere else, and they've got some good players on that team.
Yeah, the late rumor from today that came out, which I think everyone saw, which was on my rumor mill, but then they kind of made it official, was that the Shooters is no longer going to be having a team, and that this
Yep.
weekend will be their last weekend. So, that being said, it's, Shooter Nation has been a part of 16-inch softball for a long time.
Yep.
I want to throw a shout out to Ray and, his son Scotty and those guys, Keegan and all the shooter guys, Johnny Ryan. It was kind of some sad news that I heard today, but hopefully, hopefully maybe things change. We don't know, but it seems like it's going to be their last year. And yeah.
Yep, that's I got to give a huge shout to Ray Zarnick, a guy that loves the game of softball and always tries to put his best foot forward with his team. And he said it best in the post: when he knows it's done, it's done. So it was a good effort. They made it to Sunday at no gloves, but then the commitment level's tough in this day and age. Another
Before we get to the next thing, we
Yeah.
had Julie. He posted something about the video. He says I need Gio to write me one of those fancy legal letters. So he's telling me on the side right now. He wants to tell his story, but yeah. Long story short, I don't know what Mandarino's saying pass for. What is he saying pass?
I don't know, Eric. I'm curious to see what Eric will end up doing this offseason. Hopefully, he sticks it out with Moneyline. He's a desirable player after every offseason. We know that. I don't know what he's passing on, but it's something. What else we got?
We had our boy Jack Doss saying that I'll be teammates with Julian this year. We had Peter Frank saying something. Shooters is done. So not sure what Eric is saying pass on, but either way, maybe he'll explain
pass
that.
on. Playing for Pete because they argued on Facebook.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Well done, Eric. Yeah. That's wonderful.
So
that's great.
Another rumor that I've heard, and I don't know how. And that's why we call this rumor mill, right? We're not really sure. Is that Pops is going to be leaving Meatball City?
Okay.
So that's out there. Not sure where he's going. I heard a couple teams. I heard Fat Kids, possibly, with our boy Jason, the villain, which would be an interesting pair.
Correct.
And then the other rumor that I also heard about Flash, because someone commented, what's the rumor about Flash? Well, we heard that we all know that Justin is going to be taking a step back from what we've been told. And then also I heard that, and I don't know how true this is, but I heard our guys Zoe and Dispenza might just play park ball next year. And that didn't come from Dispenza or Zoe. It was rumor, right? So that's why we call it rumor mill. But I did hear that. So a lot of things flying right now in the softball 16-inch world. Pretty cool to see, pretty cool to hear. You and I love the rumor, right? That's what we.
So Pops is in the chat right now. Pops, if you want to go ahead and clear that up for us on where you'll be playing next year, if it's not Meatball City. Haven't heard that one yet, so that's news to me. There's a rumor that we've heard is PJ Raines potentially moves over to Flash now that there's an outfield spot, that he can slide into. Not that he's not good enough to play there, but he is now. I mean, that's his spot now, right? So we've got Stephen John, who's Justin's dad, who said he just wants to play a little golf on the weekend. So big shout to Steve in our chat, and talk to him a bunch this weekend. So Pops, let's get the confirmation in the chat of who you're going to be playing for. I've got two more rumors. We might see Vision 2025. So a new team emerging with your boy Robbie Grisano and Mickey Balestri.
Yeah.
They always pretend they hate each other, but they'll play together all the time.
Right.
That's happened. I want it to happen.
I know the villain just put it out there, but that was my next thing that I also heard is that Trey, I know Iron has not spoke with him yet, I don't believe, but Trey supposedly might be going back to Iron to join a young and up and coming team.
Good.
I know that Marco is going to stay on Iron for next year is what I've been told.
Yep.
So that helps them up the field defensively. There's a lot of cool things there. And then I know that someone just put in the comments, but it was also on my list that Chad Hook, unfortunately, he moved out of Chicago and now is moving, I believe, back to either Missouri. He's going to play for an Iowa team back in Iowa next season.
Really?
Yeah, he moved out of Chicago about 2 weeks prior to Major National, I believe, and I don't even think he told Circus.
Interesting way to go about that.
I don't even think he told him. So I'm
That
not
is a
really
rumor.
sure if it's true or not. But
Speaking of moves, I think that our guy from Moneyline, Chris Stout, might be moving out as well. So that's a guy that they may lose due to relocation.
well, Moneyline though, they had about 15 or 16 guys. They were pretty deep this season.
Yeah.
I know they had a couple guys hurt towards the tail end. Two of their main outfielders got hurt with Drew and Matt, with Morgan, those guys. So, I mean, those guys coming back. Their shortstop's a really good player for Moneyline. The guy that plays short for them now.
Jason Gannick.
Yeah, he's been a very good player for them. He was
Very
kind
nice
of he was a shock to me a little bit because he never played short, and they put him there, and he seemed to hold his own. Kevin Noor, they're definitely in the market, I believe, probably for another outfielder, possibly first base, and maybe a little bit of a guy that could either catch or EH in those type of spots is what I was told. They got Brian Davis. They got players.
Yeah, they have a good team.
It says, what about the Hex and Siggy host? I don't know what that means.
Oh, what about Hex and Siggy hosts? He's asking us about rumors regarding our teams at the moment.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know from Siggy. What's the rumor, Donnie? What's the rumor on the Siggy land?
Nothing I don't think any rumors yet coming out of Siggy camp.
You don't want to tell us the secret. You don't want to tell us the secret.
I don't want anyone to steal it. Steal our guys.
Yeah.
But we wanted to get a grasp for who's going to be back and what kind of the move is. But look at there's our guy Q says none. I agree. I don't think we've had any rumors regarding our team yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know. Richie and I are going to sit down probably early next week, and I'm going to let him know where I stand and what I'm going to do. My guys all know that. I've talked to them. I don't even know what we're going to do for Hex. I mean, we probably need – we need to get more commitment, right? Let's be honest. We have 4 or 5 guys that just are not committed, and it's not because maybe they don't want to play, but, work, family, other things that just kind of come in their play for them that unfortunately they're just not as committed, and maybe it's because of the drives or the tournaments or whatever. I don't know. It's something that we'll definitely know here in the next week and kind of figure out. So
yeah,
we'll see. I talked a little bit about with Richie today about it, and I don't really know. And I told him the same thing I'm telling you. I don't really know where we stand. So not yet.
Yeah. And we'll hear plenty more rumors as the week goes on. This is what everyone wants to see now. Don't blow here low. We've got plenty of rumors that happen every single week.
Dude, I've got so
we'll
many
report
rumors
them all.
I don't even want to share them. By next week, Donnie, these rumors will be
confirmed.
There'll be a ton more.
Yes.
Think about it. Where we're going to be talking about where Keenan's going to go from the shooters, and you got a whole team there, and you got Players Inc. guys, you got Flash guys, you got 45 guys. There's just so many rumors. So
we'll share them, Trav. We can't give away all the secrets on episode 1 because then you won't watch episode 2.
Right. So, yeah, everyone's saying, Donnie, that you're going to be leaving Siggy. Is that true?
Where am I going?
I don't know.
Who said that? Because that is
I heard Rismondo wants to pick you up next year.
I'm in. I'm in. You got it. JT Reedus to Meatball City is a good one. Popcorn to Goodwood. Donnie to Los Barachos. This is cool. I like this. But yeah, Jim, that's it for me, my man.
That's all I got. I know our episode went a little long tonight. We always try to keep it under an hour and 30. But this was episode, Donnie, I believe 65. which is crazy to say. Cory was an awesome guest, an awesome show. We answered a lot of cool questions about the mixture. I think it's just cool to hear. Um, I just think it's cool to hear that like they're excited about our game, right?
Agreed.
They've experienced our game. Pekka says the rumor is the chicken sandwich at Magoo's is fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I hope it is. That's why we built the place, right, Donnie? So
That's damn right, to make a hell of a chicken sandwich.
yep. So I don't know. So that being said, I just think that overall, I'm very pleased. Even though we had, I gotta at least bring this up since we're coming close on 2 hours. We might as well go to it. A lot of people ask me what Gio said to me when he came over to me during the Respondo game. And all he really told me is that I have to respect him and that I couldn't live stream from where I was standing. You know, I had, I'm not kidding you, 20 plus calls and texts and messages. What did Gio say to you? Or people asking me at the field. And I'll be honest with you, Donnie, I just kind of held my cool. I didn't really say too much. I just let him scream at me. I think CJ and his wife were standing right next to me. And he just told me I couldn't live stream. And he's just like, what makes you think you can disrespect me? And I paid a permit fee or something like that. He had mentioned those things. So just wanted to clear the air on that because that was what everyone was asking me after that moment. And then I heard there was another moment with Paul Rowan that everyone was asking me about. And so the good thing is that didn't affect the weekend. That didn't affect the excitement in the park. That didn't affect what softball was all about. And I think that was the cool thing that I saw. Hey, I mean, think about all the extra views and followers, he got this weekend from us or from
Yeah.
Respondo or from us
100%.
promoting the game. Like that to me, there's nothing wrong with that. That's promoting our game, right? So, people ask me, like they were making comments and trying to make fun of it, but that doesn't. I don't know how you feel about the situation, Donnie, and I was going to ask you, but to me, that doesn't, it doesn't bother me one bit.
Yeah, I wish the only thing I wish is that there was some sort of, what's the word? Not like a thank, but some sort of acknowledgement that, tried to grow the game as much as we can within our own power, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We helped those guys a lot this weekend. I think I just got a text, Jimmy, during the show that Steve Messina, the ex-Chicago Dynasty player, just signed with Circus during our show. So
Really?
breaking news. Steve Messina, who quit the game of softball, is back to play with Circus next year.
Yeah, and I could
really appreciate that.
Yeah, I could see a lot of those guys kind of jumping, right? Going places and doing things. So
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
But yeah, I'm glad the comments
I'm
are
curious,
following what you're saying.
A lot of
There will be
Say it again.
There will be some good rumors as we go, but I was saying,
for sure.
I'm glad to see the comments going in the way that you're talking about with everything. But yeah, my man.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm going to be reaching out, and I've already spoke to a lot of the teams. Be reaching out for some feedback on the teams. I want to hear what they had to say about the weekend. Because honestly, Donnie, we always talk about this, but we can't grow the game without the support of the teams and the players and everything else that we do, right? So, so if you do get a call from us, that's the reason why we're calling you guys, right? We want to hear your feedback. So, and then also, Steve John mentioned that Will Russ is back. Well, we're trying to get Will Russ back. Well, hopefully they allow him to come on our live streams in the future, right? That's our whole goal, is to get him to be able to come back to us when we go to Yuma and when we do other things. I mean, because you and I both know we don't really do our page to live stream games, right? We do it for our show, we do it to promote softball, we do it. But the more we can live stream, the better it is. So.
Yep.
So, I appreciate that, Donnie.
Agreed.
We will be definitely around next week. We'll have another show. We're not sure who the guest is going to be, but we'll definitely we'll see how it goes.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Jim, I'll
you're breaking up, so
we'll talk.
I'm gonna.
Okay.
All right, man. I appreciate it so much. Thank you guys for following our show.
See you later.
Uncle Jimmy Cousin Donnie show, sponsored by